course y'all know that I haven't been reading much. I've been reading graphic novels, but I've been reading for that, Okay, so welcome to this week's reading vlog. I definitely did not post one last week because I did not record last week. These past couple of weeks have been a shamble. I mean, a serious, it's been horrible, y'all. It's just been horrible. It's okay though, everything will work out, everything's gonna be fine. Also what's interesting is that I'm actually in the middle of filming 2 vlogs for this channel right now. One that will go up in is it like 2 weeks it's supposed to go up? Please say it's not like 2 weeks. It is. It's supposed to go up in 2 weeks. I have so much reading to do. Okay, so I have one that's supposed to go up in 2 weeks, which I'm going to talk about. I'm going to film a clip for it after this because I've got to get on it. Things that I have completed, which is outside of the stuff for that reading vlog. I don't think I talked about it, but I did. Hold on. Because see, I will confuse myself. I will say, oh, I read this, and then maybe I didn't. So I did talk about... Yeah, oh, that's what I didn't talk about. So I talked about Ocean Echo Volume 3. I explicitly remember doing that. I did not talk about Villains Are Destined to Die. I never talked about finishing it. I talked about it, but I had not talked about finishing it. So I did end up finishing Villains Are Destined to Die. And it was, oh my goodness gracious. It took me a long time, I think, to finish it because there's a lot of working pieces to Volume 4, and I can't really say much here. But it's a lot more at stake in this one. I mean, I feel like the stakes kind of went up a notch in Volume 4 because of some adjustments with characters, and Penelope has this huge epiphany at the end about a specific character, and I'm like, yes girl, yes, because you know what, he ain't Sugar Honey Iced Tea, and we knew it, but we were holding out hope, but he's no good. So that was a big component of it, that shift at the end that kind of had me like, oh my goodness, I need to get my hands on Volume 5. Volume 5 should have just recently came out. I did request that my library purchase Volume 5, and so I am first in line to get it as soon as it comes in. So that primarily has been the only thing that I have really read because I've been prepping up for this other video, which is perfectly fine. I did start A Sky of Paper Stars by Susie Yee. I'm 64% into this one, and I do plan on finishing this one relatively soon. It is about a young girl who is really caught in between not being Asian enough, specifically not being Korean enough, but then not being American enough. It's like she's caught in between the two worlds. And so she makes this wish where that she can go back to Korea. And when she makes the wish, she ends up going back to Korea, but she goes back to Korea because her grandmother has passed away. And so when she gets to Korea, she's having a struggle adjusting to this idea that she didn't know her grandmother as much as she thought she did, because she has these relatives, and particularly I think her cousins have known her grandmother much better than she has, because she didn't visit as often as, her cousins who actually live there. And she has this flashback, which I don't think is a spoiler, it's very at the beginning of the book. She has a flashback where she talks about her grandmother's skin feeling extremely like paper. And when she finds out that her grandmother has passed away, she ends up turning into paper. She's starting to turn into paper. And the reason why she feels like her wish is granted is because her grandmother told her, like, if you fold 1,000 paper stars, you can make a wish and the wish will come true. And so now she's racing against time to fold 1,000 paper stars to bring her grandmother back. I think this is going to be some very, very deep commentary about grieving because, of course, as an adult, I know she's not literally turning into paper. This is, I think, a huge metaphor for how she is processing that grief, for how she's internalizing some feelings of responsibility for comments that she's made towards her grandmother, or the fact that she didn't spend as much time with her grandmother as she wanted to. So I am, like I said, I've made huge progress in that one. I checked out like a bunch of graphic novels on my Libby app, but most of them are not for just regular weekly reading. A lot of those are for the other video that I'm currently filming, but I did add Squire to my list to possibly make it through this week because of the fact that Squire is written by a Palestinian author, and I definitely wanted to check out some graphic novels by Palestinian creators, and I know that Squire is one. So there is that. It's Thanksgiving week, so I'm hoping to get some stuff read. I need to go back and revisit. Things have gotten a little complicated because I wanted to do one thing and I'm not able to do another thing, and so it's kind of messed up my November reading plans. There's going to be a lot that's going to be read before December hits for this channel. It's a lot of stuff that I'm about to read probably within the next couple weeks. The only downside to all of that is that it's not going to be content that I'm going to be talking about in my weekly vlogs because it's going to be a completely separate vlog. But I also want to try to get to some content that's not a part of the vlog. I'm looking around because I'm seeing things like all over this house. This issue number 1. I'm seeing things all over this house that I need to kind of get to expeditiously, and it hasn't been happening at all. You know, I just did that haul, and then I've looked on my like library accounts and I'm like, oh my goodness, I have so much stuff checked out. But I am going to finish up the Paper Star one, and I do want to start Squire. I also have Saga Volume 10 sitting over there, which I've been putting off for a very, very long time, and so I think I need to get to that. But I think I'm going to have to find a way to really split my time of my reading for this video that's going to come out, as well as reading for, you know, just my regular reading that I do throughout the month. So we're going to see how that's all going to go. Other than that, I really don't have much to say in terms of a check-in, but yeah, everything sounds good. Sounds good. Hello. Oh, wow. Sound like I just smoked a pack, and I definitely didn't. Hello, y'all. Okay, so of course y'all know that I haven't been reading much. I've been reading graphic novels. I've been reading for that for a separate project that I'm working on. So I haven't really read anything, but I did want to let y'all know that I do plan on, well, let me double check, because I said I haven't read anything, and that could be wrong. No, I still haven't read anything since, for this vlog. I haven't read anything outside of Villains Are Destined to Die just yet. Make sure that that is in fact the truth, and that is in fact the truth, because the other two are for another vlog. Okay, so I do want you to know that I plan on starting 2 things. I'm hoping to at least get these 2 things done this weekend. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get more done outside of these 2 things, because I am also reading for that other additional vlog that you will see in the next in the next 2 weeks. I did start Dear Rosie. This is a middle grade graphic novel that it's relatively short, but it is about grief, but through animals, because it is about their friend Rosie, who passes away in a car accident. And so they're trying to process and work through their feelings, which I did not know, like when I originally, because I just thought the cover was really, really cute. I do remember like selecting this one from a library, but I couldn't remember because this would have been months ago, because Dear Rosie came out in July of this year. So I would have selected this as far back as maybe May. So I didn't remember what it was about, but I had remembered that I did want to check it out, and I did not know it was about Brief. So very interested in that one. That will be a short one. And then I also just got, so there's two other graphic, I don't want to promise that I'm going to read two of them, but I really, really, really want to get to the Super Boba Cafe by Nidhi Chanani, which that one just came out recently. And then my hold for City of Dragons book 2, which is Rise of the Shadowfire, just came in. So with that being said, I may try to gun it and finish those 3. I don't know if that's going to be a thing that's going to happen, but we're going to try to make it happen. So I just wanted to hop in here really quick and let y'all know that. And I will let you know like my thoughts as I finish those. But I am still reading, just not a super ton for this per se, but it's fine. It'll all work out. It'll be fine. Hey y'all, don't mind the messy bed behind me. I am completely and totally and utterly exhausted. There has been a lot just going on in the background for me, and it hasn't been peaches and cream. Peaches and cream. Okay, I'm done. That was unnecessary. Okay, y'all. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap this vlog up. This is one of my shorter ones because I am reading a lot of material for another vlog, and so these next couple of vlogs, or maybe just one more after this, is possibly 1 or 2 more after this, are probably going to be on the shorter end, just because I do have a lot of other reading going on at the moment. I just wanted to, because I don't know if I talked about this one, but we're going to talk about it now. And if I did, I apologize to Pass Me and Editing Me, who's going to have to figure this out. But A Sky of Paper Stars, I couldn't remember if I actually reviewed this one. I feel like I mentioned like talking about it, but I can't remember if I actually reviewed it. So Sky of Paper Stars is by Susie Yee. I am familiar with Susie's work on this cat series that she's done, and so this is not my first time encountering this creator, but I was really interested in this one because it follows a main character by the name of Yuna, who is, how do I explain, she's caught in between. So this is one of those coming of age stories where we have a main character who feels kind of caught in between identities. So she feels as though she's not Korean enough, she doesn't feel like she's American enough, and so she thinks that if she goes out to Korea, everything will basically, I don't want to say be solved, but things will be easier if she goes back to Korea. So she is told by her harmony, her grandmother, a while ago, that if she folds 1,000 paper stars, she makes a wish will come true. So she folds 1,000 paper stars, she wishes she could go back to Korea, and unfortunately she does end up having to go back to Korea, but it's because her harmony has passed away. Now when she gets there, she's learning a lot of new things about her grandmother that she didn't know before, and she feels this kind of like disconnect to her Korean family, and realizing that she had a very different relationship with her grandmother than a lot of other people, because flying back and forth between America and Korea was just too expensive. So she had gone a long time without seeing her grandmother. And there's one explicit scene in which she like complains when she's young, she doesn't really know any better, she complains about her grandmother's skin feeling like paper. And there's a reason why her grandmother's skin feels like that. She learns more about her grandmother. But the interesting thing about this graphic novel is that her grief and guilt are translated into her turning into paper herself. And so she's trying to stop herself from turning into paper one, and then also she's trying to fold 1,000 paper stars again because she wants to bring her grandmother back. It's very, very heart-wrenching. I think it was a good exploration of grief and identity. I just wish that Susie Yee would have took a little bit more time to make the part about her turning into paper more clear. I think that if there was a like middle grade reader who picked this up and there wasn't an adult to have the conversation about kind of like the metaphor of the paper as it relates to like her grandmother's past, as it relates to like her manifestation of grief and guilt over the situation, I think that that can kind of be, you know, because she's not really turning into paper. Like, of course, as an adult reading that, I know that she's not really turning into paper, but I can see how this would leave kind of some lingering questions for a younger reader. I think that it overall, though, was an interesting read. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the artwork as well, and this ended up being a 4-star read for me. So it was a good one. Let me tell you something. I really did not intentionally do this, right? So I've been reading a lot of things that tackle difficult topics, just not the greatest of situations. And I actually also ended up reading another middle grade graphic novel that covered grief. And I was not, after the Paper Stars one, I did not realize this. Like, honestly, I had picked up this one because of the fact that I had selected it for my library system and I'd been meaning to read it, and I was scrolling through Libby and I was looking for graphic novels for another project that I'm working on, and I came across this one. I was like, oh yeah, I've been meaning to read this. So the thing about me is that I will see something and I never mark it to add it to my TBR on Goodreads. I usually don't make any type of notation. You know, it's always like, oh, I'll just come back to this later and eventually I'll pick it up. And so I've completely forgotten about this one. And that was, and I think I talked about this one in a previous clip, which was Love Rosie, or Dear Rosie. And I did not know that Dear Rosie was about grief at all. It did not click that it was about grief until I started reading the first couple of pages of it, and I was like, oh, so this is going to be sad. So it does follow a group of 4 friends. It used to be a group of 5. Their friend Rosie, they're all animal. Their friend Rosie passes away this summer before the school year starts in a car accident. And so these 4 friends are trying to navigate their feelings of grief in relationship to to Rosie, and each one of them has a different relationship to Rosie in terms of their, like, how their friendship dynamic works. Everybody has a different connection to Rosie, but they're all friends. So one thing that I absolutely loved about this, because it literally is just going through this process of them starting the new school year, and things kind of start to fall apart within their friendship dynamics, and it's because each one of them is processing their grief in different ways. So you have someone who, I think, a character who I feel like doesn't make light of the situation, but humor is a way for them to kind of process what they feel, and they use that as a coping mechanism. You have a character whose grief manifests in the form of anger. You have another whose grief manifests in isolation, and so they begin to isolate themselves in a way that starts to concern a couple of the friends, and they start making connections with a person that's not necessarily the best of the best for the because of the age and all types of it's not explicit like that, but it's basically an online situation where they meet someone online and they're kind of isolating themselves and not being open and honest about it until it causes a issue later on down the road. Not like a extreme issue, but an issue nevertheless. And then there's a main character whose grief is manifesting in wanting to hold on to every last thread that has a connection to Rosie. So they are very much so, they end up finding this notebook with symbols on it that's a symbol that Rosie used to draw. And they become so attached to that symbol and it being in this notebook and figuring out like how would Rosie connected to this. And it definitely is this trying to do everything to keep the feeling of Rosie being present, being alive, and desperately just holding on to anything that will keep Rosie like in the moment without realizing it. Like, you have to let go. That doesn't mean you forget, but you have to let go. So this is a character that's really struggling to let go. I think this is great for preteen readers who have experienced grief or loss, and it doesn't necessarily have to be through death, because I think that this would be great too for loss of friendship, but it works very well in terms of like losing someone through death. I think that it shows the different ways that people express their grief very well, because at first I was like, where is this going? Like, and then it started to click where I was like, okay, so each one of these characters represents a separate manifestation of grief, and it's amazing to see that. You know, I think if you haven't lost anyone, if you only consume, you know, what we see in terms of media, you would think that everyone processes grief the same way, especially if you're younger. I think if you're older, especially as you get older, everyone around you gets older. So the losses do occur, and then sometimes there's unexpected losses as well. And so I think that what's so fascinating about this whole setup is that it really does kind of push that stereotype away that this is how people grieve and this is how everyone grieves, when really everyone grieves in their own way, and how that grief manifests or shows itself outwardly to other people is going to be extremely different, case by case, person by person, even though all four of these characters have lost the same friend. How they're dealing with the loss of that friend is extremely different in each and every case. So I thought it was good. It's sad. It's incredibly sad, but also incredibly good. So definitely going with a 4-star review for Dear Rosie. I did enjoy that one. So yeah, I think those are the only ones. I don't understand why so many people gave this one 3 stars, by the way, mind you. I'm not sure why so many people gave it 3 stars, but I rather enjoyed Dear Rosie. I did start reading Squire. This is by a Palestinian American creator. The writer is Palestinian American, and I believe that the illustrator is from Jordan, if I'm not mistaken. But I am not far into it, y'all. I am like literally maybe like 10 pages into it. I just started it yesterday. So maybe by the time that this vlog goes up, I will have made more progress. But this is it's a fantasy-esque YA graphic novel. I'm not sure where the story is going. I am just met the main character, who has these interesting like markings on her arm, which I'm not sure what that's indicative of, but she's in a different group than everybody else. So she goes to this kind of like open air market, and she's selling these apricots, and people are like, oh well, they're too high or whatever, and she's like, well, they're huge, they're sweet, it's worth the money. And she encounters these kids that are about the same age as her. They're pretty much like, oh, you're such and such. I have to look up the name of what they called her. You come here and you're basically trying to run people out of their money, and they're like, you should just donate some of your apricots to us. That's literally as far as I got into that one, but I am liking the art style, and I think the storytelling is going to be great. This one has pretty high reviews on Goodreads, like over 6,000 ratings, and it's still sitting at over a 4-star average rating, so it's pretty good. Yeah, y'all, that's pretty much it. I think that most of my vlogs going forward, until this project I'm working on, until that drops, are going to be kind of like brief and like this, because unfortunately I'm multitasking here. So I'm reading a lot more graphic novels, and if you really want to see what I'm reading, you can just go to my Goodreads. It's not a secret. It's not a secret what I'm reading, but I don't want to talk about that stuff in this vlog because I am vlogging reading that material. So there's that. That is it, y'all. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content from me, click the subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications. Interested in supporting this channel, all the links and information are down in the description box below. And yeah, I think if you're interested in following me on social media, I don't think I said that, those links are down there as well. Let me know what y'all ended up reading this week. Have you discovered anything new? Yes, I am still trying to get over the Goodreads kerfuffle. It's time for me to log off. It's time for me to go.